Hey friends, welcome back to the Survival and Healing Podcast. This is episode 101. And we're going to drive and talk.
We're going to drive safely and talk.
We're driving safe. I'm not going to look at you guys. I'm just going to talk to you guys. Carmen's going to be the beautiful face. So if you're on the YouTube channel.
Oh.
There we go. So we're talking about goals today. And I just recently had this cool experience with one of my coaches. She's doing a goal challenge, and forever, I'm going to ask you, Carmen, how you feel about goals here in a second. So for me, goals were just like this. Yes, that's what people do that are successful. I should do them. And it was this very much hate relationship. I hated doing them because I never felt successful. I could never do them. I quit on them. I have a hard time choosing them. I end up choosing goals that are like ridiculously far out there that like there's no way. Like I'm going to make $1 million in a year. Like, I mean, maybe if I made 800,000 last year, but
yeah.
So I would set myself up for failure, and I just felt terrible. Right? I just felt terrible all the time, like I was failing because I could never really hit these goals. And then some of them I really, really wanted. So that made it feel even more terrible because I was like in desperation. Yeah. But then there was parts of me that like I wouldn't even set a goal. Like when I was in CrossFit, like my early years of CrossFit, I guess, I desperately wanted to meet Annie Thorsdottir, Greg Glassman, and own my own CrossFit gym. Right. But there wasn't like this desperation to have it. It just, I believed to the core of me, like, yeah, I'm going to meet Annie Thorsdottir one day. Like, it wasn't even a question. I was stating factual reality. Is what my brain told me, right? Like, yeah, this is happening. I had zero drama about it. I was not attached to it. I knew it was going to happen. So I wasn't in a hurry. It was just like, this is happening. And it did. Yeah. And that was why I was so frustrated with myself for so long, is like, I am a human that gets what I want. Like I say, I want to meet this famous person, or I want to, I want to do these things, and I do them. But it's like, why can't I create goals for myself? Like, why can't I go achieve goals? And so my coach taught me, she's doing this challenge for goals, and her whole concept is like dating your goal.
Okay.
And so she wanted us to approach this goal. We have 30 days to approach this goal as if we are dating it, like, and not being attached. Like dating people, you don't want to be that needy person that's like, do you love me? Do you love me? Why haven't they texted me? Like I texted them. Why haven't they texted back immediately? Right? Like you don't want to be that human.
Yeah.
So she talks about like, you don't want to be that human with your goal. And so as I was getting coaching, she asked me, like what in your life, Kim, do you find enjoyment and fun in? And I was like, I can't think of anything. Like, it's not that I don't have fun. It's just like, I'm so driven. I'm so like, Jordan used to call me, my ex-husband, Serious Kim, right? Just like so serious.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking, and she's like forcing me to come up with an idea. I was like, well, really the only thing I can think of that is easy and fun for me is my niece and nephew. Like, I love being around them. I enjoy them for them. I enjoy their presence. I enjoy just spending time with them. I have zero expectations for them. And then I saw it, because our brains are like super, super sneaky. They're very smart, very sneaky. And I saw it like, it was like I got a backdoor glimpse through it. I was like, oh, I have zero expectations for my niece and nephew. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I expect nothing out of them in return. I just get to love them.
Right.
And the other things in my life that I'm so serious and driven about is because I expect them to provide worthiness and enoughness to me. And that's what drives my desperation to get there. When I hit this goal, then I can feel enough. then I can feel worthy. Then I can feel like, and worthiness, enoughness in my brain has been hijacked with the thought of I'll be capable and I have what it takes.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why, because I'm looking for these goals, like especially business, financial goals that I've not been able to hit. And I have so much like desperation around them. They're hard. I obsess about them all the time. It just seems like I'm never going to get there. Lots of like negative emotion around them is because the energy that's driving me to get there is enough, and I'll be worthy when I get there.
Yeah.
That implies I don't believe I'm worthy and enough to begin with. So that's actually the belief system that's creating my results. The belief system is I'm not capable. I don't have what it takes. That drives all my actions, right?
Yeah.
Which continues, creates the results. I'm not capable. I don't have what it takes.
You're using the idea of creating these goals to be this like measure of, are you enough? Can you do it? Like, can you, are you accomplishing, XYZ if I can meet this goal? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Versus like now, like she did that analogy with my niece and nephew. She's like, just take that same energy you have with them, and that's how you approach this goal. So my goal is like 4 new clients in 30 days. Well, instead of my normal self being very like desperate and graspy, like I have to do this. If I don't do this, then I fail, right? It's like, okay, how would I approach these 4 new clients with the same energy that I approach my niece and nephew?
Right. It's
with,
this.
Yeah. Good.
It's that idea is that you create that goal and there's not like strings attached, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is the goal, and it's you recognize it for what it is, but it's not, with all these strings attached and all this extra pressure on it. Yeah.
To enjoy it, right? Like, because I always talk about enjoying the journey, and I'm like, that is just much bullshit. Like, who ever said that? Like, what? And now, like, I'm seeing like, oh, my niece and nephew can never make me feel enough or worthy, right? And I don't ever put that pressure on them to do that.
Right.
And goals can never do that. So I can't put the pressure on them to do that. So then the alternative it leads me to is like, oh, I just get to enjoy and have fun having this goal and creating a relationship with this goal. Like I create a relationship with my niece and nephew. And that's how you actually get to enjoy the journey.
I see. Yeah. I like that. That is a very different perspective on creating goals. Yeah, I think than sort of the average typical, right? We make goals, but you make goals and it has this expectation and this intention of like, oh, if I don't meet that goal, I failed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really you hear it, it's so cliche in the coaching world, like it's about the person you have to become anyway. It's not about the goal. Well, I didn't understand that because the goal I had attached to this inanimate object I had attached to worthiness and enoughness, right? And when I can take this inanimate object, like making a certain amount of money, and I could approach like a human relationship, like having this relationship with this goal in which I invest in, I nurture, I allow it its own space and freedom without putting the pressure on it for it to do something for me.
Yeah. Because then it's no longer this, measurement, right? It's no longer this, a measure of you. Instead it's a separate entity that you get to appreciate. It for what it is. You get to appreciate even that version of yourself that created that goal, to be like, oh, I can look forward to this in the future, but not to the point where it's like looming over you.
Yes. I
like that.
So I started this podcast with saying I had a question for you. Like, how do you feel about goals? What is your relationship with them?
So it's interesting because I've also, so I used to write goals all the time, right? Like when I was young, I used to facilitate programs with other elementary school and other teenagers. And we encouraged goal setting. And the reason why we did that is because at that time, in this organization, it was called Peacemakers, we were trying to advocate the mental health of elementary, like it was Indian youth for Indian youth. We were trying to target the statistics of suicide and high suicide rates amongst young Indian youth and teenagers, right? So one of the aspects of our programs and our workshops was goal setting. So the idea was that you create goals and things that you want to achieve to give somebody something to look forward to, right? Something to like look forward to and to achieve, versus being kind of sucked into this hole of like, I don't have a direction with my life, you know, and I'd rather take my life than live it because I can't imagine, you know, something outside of me.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was my first introduction to goals, because we would teach that in these classes, in these workshops. So I used to be really good at writing goals and I would just make up stuff, right? Like stuff that I wanted to do in my life. But as I've gotten older, I don't have a very strong relationship with goals, to be honest. I've written down a lot of goals over the years in a lot of journals, but I've never revisited them. I've never, because I don't always accomplish them. And when they become like, oh, you feel guilty, right? Like, and when I start to feel guilty about that, I'm like, you know, maybe that just wasn't good timing. You make excuses of like why I didn't achieve that goal, or yeah, maybe that wasn't the best idea. And so, to be honest, I don't do a lot of goal setting that much anymore. Not like I used to anyhow.
Yeah. And you know, for me, I guess the reason I call them goals because I think it's like the most relatable word, but like I'm totally like a dreamer. Like I love dreaming of possibilities and then going after those possibilities. And I think with this society, we call that goal seeking. So it's not like I sit down and like SMART goals. I hate that. I hate that whole concept.
You want it to be measurable and achievable.
Achievable result. Like, no, I want to dream. Like, I want a freaking Maserati, right? And then it's like, okay, I actually really do. Like, that's now a goal. Like, I believe I can have it. Now I want to go get it. So now it's morphed into this goal that then becomes this like pressure on me, instead of like staying in that very light and dreamy like land of possibility. Like, I really want this. I get to have whatever I want in life, because that's just a philosophy I believe in. But I just have to stop tying worthiness and enoughness to it, right? Like if I get the Maserati, fantastic. If I don't, I'm still the same valuable human with or without it.
Yes. Yeah. Because then you move away from this like idea. I mean, this that worthy enoughness, and then like if you don't achieve that goal, right, like this, it doesn't become this entity that you feel, well, maybe not you, but like I would feel guilty for not accomplishing, right? Or like I would feel guilty for not accomplishing that goal in like my set time that I, you know, had come up for myself. So
So that's kind of what I've learned recently about goals. And even like it's interesting, you know, with the SMART goals, because isn't there like a measurable time with that?
Yeah, you create a measurable time. Yeah.
Like what I learned from all of my coaching colleagues that are, by the way, extremely successful, it's like the time, you can put a time like 30 days, but like if I don't reach my goal in 30 days, I just start the 30-day clock over again.
Yeah.
It's not like this final 30-day, oh, you failed, you
Failed.
don't have what it takes. It's like, oh, you didn't do it in this 30 days, we'll do it in the next 30 days.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you keep it open, so it's still
Yes.
achievable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to share on goals. I think it's a whole, I love the new concept of it, and it's just like figuring out, like having this relationship with your goal, right? And nurturing that instead of this goal has to provide this, like transferring it into things like a human relationship for me just helped me understand it so much better. Like, oh, well, that's the relationship I had with like achieving meeting Annie Thor's daughter. Like I wasn't attached to it. It was just like, oh, I just let that goal be what it was. I knew it was going to happen. There was no pressure on it. It's like, yeah, it's just going to happen. How or when, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I saw like, oh, I accomplished everything I don't put pressure on. So then it makes me really excited to think, oh, well, now that I understand this, I just won't put pressure on these things. I actually get to have these amazing things that I'm dreaming up then.
Yeah. I think that's a valuable perspective in goal setting, right? And with that perspective, it's a lot that less pressure. Because then it's you if you know it to happen, right? It's like, oh, I expect this to happen. I know it will. But with all that excess added pressure, because that for me, like that's what gets overwhelming. That's what like
Yes.
causes me to freeze, and it's like, oh, it's hard for me to move forward because of all that overwhelm and that pressure that's associated with it. So that's an awesome perspective. That makes much more sense. I could get on board with that, creating a relationship with those goals instead of letting them have the power over me, because sometimes that's what it feels like.
Yes. It's that's exactly how it feels like for me. It's like they're this big looming power.
Yeah.
And if you think about it from like a coaching perspective, like when we feel pressure or overwhelm, it locks us up in black and white thinking and keeps us playing like we are then playing on the defense.
Yeah.
Playing protective, right? And when we're playing on the defense, we cannot problem solve.
Yeah.
But when you're playing offense, right, and it's light and there's no pressure, there's no overwhelm, then your brain feels safe to be creative and problem solve and come up with different actions, thus ensuring you the ability to accomplish that goal.
Exactly. Yeah. That area of being creative and that problem solving, that's what gets us to achieving that goal. But if you're stuck in the opposite, it's hard to get there.
Yeah. Cool.
That's
Anything
so smart. No,
right?
I'm so excited about that.
These coaches, man, I'm like, gosh, you guys are genius.
Yeah.
That's why we pay them the big bucks, right?
There you go. Well, thank you for sharing it with us today.
You're welcome. All right, friend. You guys have a great week, and we will see you guys next week.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.